Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. Hope you guys are getting up and feeling great out there. It is Friday after all, so I imagine most of us are feeling pretty good. I know I am. If you're not, I certainly hope your morning and your day gets much better. But thank y'all for tuning in this morning as we try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for your Friday. Nothing too significant out there. If anything, where the rain is falling, that for the areas that we're about to talk about, it's good news. The areas that need rain the most. We'll see a little bit of rain today, not a whole lot. This isn't going to be one of those systems that's going to put a big dent in the drought that is in place across the Appalachian Mountains into the deep south and the southeast, but it'll help out. But could this be the start of a pretty active pattern that can really put a dent into this drought? I think it could be. I really do. I'm seeing a lot of systems coming up in the future. It's been a heavy topic as far as the comments on the YouTube channel, on my Facebook, on my Twitter, and rightfully so. These areas really need the rain across the southeast, the southern Apps. So yeah, I really think we're going to have a lot of systems that move in over the next couple weeks at least. So we'll break that down and we'll talk a little bit on it for the second half of the video. And speaking of the second half of the video, we'll give you kind of some updated information about what's coming up for Thanksgiving week. I think this is going to be a pretty big system, and this will be kind of system number one that does deliver some beneficial rains for the eastern U.S. A lot more rain than what this system that's moving in right now will bring. Talking about snow, talking about rain, even the potential for some severe weather. And we're really watching the lake effect snows for the Great Lakes region, guys. I know that a very small population lives in these areas. It's not like it's lake effect snows is something that impacts a massive area, but these isolated areas could see a significant event maybe sometime late next week. So we'll break that down, but we'll get detailed on that in the coming videos. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you folks got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. I'm heading to Myrtle Beach right after I'm done with this video, going to do a podcast with a couple of meteorologists in the Myrtle Beach area. I'll put that on my channel. It won't be my video, but I'll put the link to it, and it'll be a great opportunity for you guys to just see me talking with two great guys about my love for weather, kind of my story with my YouTube channel, things like that. So definitely stay tuned when I drop that link if you're interested. So with that being said, let's get rolling here. So we'll take a look at water vapor loop, and here it is. I'll put a check mark right here. This is our moisture in the wider colors right here, kind of skirting across the eastern U.S., continues to move. Now, this isn't like inches of rain that's going to fall in these areas right here. And some of this rain's already fallen. We're going to have more to develop a little bit later today. And here's the cold front moving in behind it, bringing in some drier, cooler air. But, we'll take any rain we can get. There's the system off the coast of the southeast, which will continue to strengthen. And models have really got this thing really moving further east rather than closer to like Maine in the northeast. So that has been the model guidance, but this could make a last second trend northwest. I'm sorry. Sometimes that happens, so we'll watch for that. But you got a lot of white showing up over the south central U.S., but just because you see white on your screen indicating more moisture in the atmosphere, that doesn't mean that there's actually rain falling on the surface. But we do have an area of moist air down here with a ridge in place. And then you see this system over here on this side of your screen. Here comes another system that's going to bring more rains to California a little bit later this afternoon, this evening. So water vapor loop, that's what's going on. A little bit of a trough digging down. Kind of a bunch of different features out there right now that doesn't show up well on the water vapor loop, but the moisture shows up pretty well. Speaking on what's actually falling out there, maybe a little bit of light snow flurries up here in northwest. Got to be careful not to say northwest. I like to do that sometimes, and you've probably caught me doing it a few times. But northwest Minnesota, if I think about it too much, I'll say it again. And northeast North Dakota, maybe some flurry action. You guys let me know what you're seeing up there. But there's the rain kind of in the eastern portion of the country, east central, if you will. Rain falling up in Michigan, a little bit of rain and moisture in New Mexico, and we still got some moisture off the coast of the southeast, and some of this is actually falling to the surface along the coastal sections of South Carolina, maybe some sprinkle action in South Carolina. I know I'm not getting any rain, so I don't think this is really hitting the ground much in the northern sections of South Carolina. But outside of that, the moisture has not entered the picture into California quite yet. So, right now it's pretty quiet out there. The Storm Prediction Center, nothing severe to mention today. There is a risk for some thunder, maybe some lightning, some thunderstorm activity right here in the Ohio River Valley. But definitely nothing severe. And I think the worst you'll get is maybe a rumble of thunder or something like that. But I don't think it's anything at all to really worry about. Some thunderstorms just off the coastline of the southeast could make their way into the southeast coastline. And we got the potential for some thunderstorm activity in Arizona and then the California coastline. Excessive rainfall outlook, we're still dealing with a risk of flash flooding along the east coast of Florida. There is a slight risk, which means there's at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met. And there is a little bit of a flooding risk kind of, between LA and San Francisco, the coastline. I don't think it's anything to be overly concerned about, but there is a 5% risk of flash flooding. So watches and warnings, advisories, it's quiet, guys. There's a lot of dense fog out there in southern New England. Some in Washington and a couple counties in Southern California. Winter weather advisory up in Washington. Still got some high wind issues here in southern areas of Wyoming. And then some dense fog down here in southern areas of Texas. Outside of that, very, very quiet as far as any kind of weather alerts. So the southeast, kind of two areas to watch. Nothing that's overly concerning. One being this system that will begin to kind of re-strengthen off the coast of Florida, off the coast of the southeast. This could push some moisture into the Carolina coastline, the Georgia coastline, maybe in the form of some scattered showers. So you got this moisture meeting up with this moisture. So here comes the potential for some beneficial rain that will scoot across Kentucky, Tennessee, maybe northern Alabama, areas of Mississippi today. And we really need the rain in Virginia, even areas of West Virginia and the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. Let's hope that this holds together and we can get some heavy rain later this evening that does move into the mountainous regions of the southern Alps here. But it's looking like it really wants to dry out, especially as it gets east of the mountains. And heck, by the time you're waking up Saturday morning, there's not really much any kind of moisture left. But how much rain can fall from this? The lift from the Smokies could give you a half inch, 3/4 of an inch of rain, but just some scattered, I would say if you're in the mountains, I would say a good 1/4 to a half inch is good. But I mean, we'll take it, right? There's wildfires that have been an issue in Virginia, and even some wildfires that broke out, and I believe in North Carolina, maybe even Tennessee. But just some very light amounts in Tennessee. The more you get north and northeast, the more that it increases into Kentucky, where we get a 1/4 to maybe as much as a half inch of rain. The northeast today, most of the morning is quiet, but moisture will begin to move in. This will just be in the form of rain, guys, but I'm telling you, man, I really think, watch out Buffalo off Lake Ontario, Lake Erie. Man, this might be the last little push of rain that you see before. Well, I think you'll get rain with the system next week, but then it'll switch to snow, and it might stay snow for a while, but here comes some rain that's moving in. Heavy rain potential a little bit later this afternoon, Ohio. This will move into western PA, into western sections of West Virginia. And then by the time you're in this afternoon, the entire western half of New York State and Pennsylvania, seeing rain, light to moderate rain moving in. And this continues by the time we get into this evening. Got any outdoor activities? I think the heart of New York getting rain, most of Vermont, northern half of New Jersey, northern half of New Hampshire, western Maine, is getting rain, just good old-fashioned rain. As the cold air tries to catch up with this, you could get a switch to some snow in the Adirondacks, and then we make our way into kind of the wee hours of the morning tomorrow morning, could begin to see some rain in southern New England, and this could switch to a brief period of snow in western Maine, even New Hampshire. It's very possible, but then this heads on off, and we end up dealing with having a pretty decent day for tomorrow as this moisture pulls off. But as far as rainfall between now and the next 24 hours, western PA, areas of Ohio, New York State, 1/4 inch to a half inch. Somebody might see 3/4 of an inch of rain. West Virginia, you're good for 3/10 of an inch to a half inch of rain. And light amounts in a little bit further northeast, but certainly enough to get the ground wet, and just yet another rain system moving in for you folks in the northeast. South central U.S., it's a pretty quiet day. Some showers could redevelop in central Arkansas, drift around, and then some rain could enter the picture in extreme southern New Mexico, Southern New Mexico, like really late tonight, well after midnight. Southwestern Texas could see some rain too. Wake up some light rain around kind of Fort Stockton, Odessa. It's possible tomorrow morning, but as far as today into tonight, it's very quiet weather continues for the South Central U.S. This could certainly change for you folks as we are getting into next week. We'll talk more on that here in a second. North Central U.S., most of the area is quiet. Maybe some snow flurries in the UP. This rain will continue to develop and get heavy. You're going to get some rain probably and some heavy rain in southern sections of Indiana, especially southeast Indiana, northern Kentucky, Ohio. A lot of rain will move through if it hasn't already this morning, throughout the morning hours and the late morning, then early this afternoon. It should be heading on out, and by dinner time tonight, it should be about done. A little bit of rain that you're dealing with this morning in Michigan should clear out by this afternoon, and it ends up being a pretty nice night for most of everybody. But as far as rain for Ohio and surrounding states, a couple tenths of an inch of rain in southern Michigan, and maybe as much as a quarter inch of rain down here in southern Indiana. Maybe a quarter to a half inch of rain in northern Kentucky, but I would say the eastern half of Ohio gets more rain than the western half today, but still just a quarter inch to three-fourths of an inch of rain altogether, enough to definitely make it wet out there for sure. Western U.S., everybody is quiet except California, I would say, and then areas of Arizona. As you can tell, in fact, we might as well just go zoom in right into California. There's no point really showing anybody else because everybody else is going to be quiet. No offense to anybody else on this map, but everybody else is pretty quiet today. We'll start off, we get into about the 10, 11 a.m. frame, Western time out here, and here comes the heavy rain making its way into San Francisco. It looks like most of this rain, if you live in LA, San Diego, most of this stays on up the coastline. I think you'll get some heavy rounds of rain, even some thunderstorms that are possible that moves into the central coastline of California and also eventually the northern coastline. And some higher elevation snow will begin to fall in the Sierra Nevada, in California later tonight. It could snow pretty heavily. And then later, like as we're getting into tomorrow morning, this is when we could get some convection, some shower, maybe even some storm activity a little bit further south down the California coastline. But it continues, you continue to have rounds of rain into pretty much all of the coastline by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning. But as far as rain between now and the next 24 hours, not a whole lot in the next 24 hours in the southern coastline. You folks down San Diego, Los Angeles, but the further you creep up the coastline, the higher the rainfall chances get. If you're right up against the coastline, half inch to an inch of rain is possible. The valleys, quarter inch, and could pick up some snows in the Sierra Nevada. In fact, we can go on and look at snowfall total, and it definitely starts to add up. But if you keep this going all the way through Sunday morning, you're getting feet of snow up here in these higher elevations of California, which is really nothing too unusual, honestly. So today will be a nice day in the southeast. You got some clouds, some moisture, maybe a little bit. You could feel a little bit of humidity in the air for sure. But it's definitely a warm day, even warm up into the northeast. You'll hit 60 degrees in Boston today, and a pretty mild day for the northeast, considering what you guys have seen lately. Deep south, southeast, south central 60s. A little bit cool up in the Midwest, but nothing really unusual for this time of the year. In fact, I would argue some of these areas are above average temperature-wise still. But pretty warm day across the central and eastern U.S. in general. That will change. And then the western U.S. kind of the same. Nothing too extreme, nothing too cold, nothing too hot. Just a kind of a typical November day, honestly. But let me adjust myself. My back's starting to hurt here. But, moving forward to the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, which takes us through late next week, through Thanksgiving, through next weekend. Below average temperatures are going to dominate the central and eastern U.S. Confidence has really increased for the Midwest and the Great Lakes region, as a really dome of cold air is really going to affect areas of kind of east central and eastern Canada and dip down to the Great Lakes region and really kickstart the lake effect energy. But here it is, confidence is pretty high. We're going to have a pretty chilly Thanksgiving, maybe for some folks downright cold. And looking at temperatures compared to average And as you can tell, I think the beginning to middle part of the week could be warm for the southeast and eastern U.S. But I think you'll have an abrupt change as you're moving into Thanksgiving Eve next Wednesday. And then by the time you're waking up Thanksgiving morning, you see the areas in green. This is the European ensemble, very reliable thing to look at. That's anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees below average temperature-wise. So that makes for a pretty cold Thanksgiving morning, definitely a freeze. Okay, pretty cold down here in Texas. Now, just because you see greens down here in Houston and Corpus Christi, that doesn't mean you're going to get below freezing. That's just, for example, this is the morning of Thanksgiving. That's like, 10 to 15 degrees below your average Thanksgiving, below your average November 23rd low temperature, which, could be the 40s or low 50s down here. So, but anyways, below average temperatures really take over a good portion of the central and eastern U.S. And really what's wild, you get into the next Friday, 7 days from now, below average temperatures really stick around. But really what I'm watching for is some sort of Arctic front that I think digs down kind of along the Rockies, one of those kind of blue northern kind of setups. Not saying that's what it's going to be, but kind of something like we saw back in October. And I think that you could have pretty chilly conditions, pretty downright cold conditions that move into the central portion of the country next weekend sometime. It's showing very cold temperatures, well below average in the middle of the country. And I've kind of been teasing at that some, kind of mentioning it on and off. Some of this cold air could bleed east. Well, we need to see. This is getting into that 8 to 10 day time frame that's tough to figure out. But, if you look at the European, as far as that storm system for Thanksgiving, here's the rains for Sunday, this coming Sunday, 2 days from now. And then we get into Monday. We continue to have the development of this low pressure. We get into Tuesday morning, and here it is. This is when you start to get widespread range across the Mid-South, the Deep South, and the potential for a severe weather threat exists Sunday and into Monday. Of course, we've already passed that time frame. So, Sunday, we could have some severe weather in the southern plains. Monday, we could have some severe weather in the Deep South. And Tuesday, I could see there being a risk too. We just need to watch. But, Tuesday, I think this is gusty winds moving across the Ohio Valley, the Mid-South, the Appalachian Mountains, and just a lot of widespread, much-needed rain. But you see the blue lines dipping down. That's some very cold air moving in behind this system. You can already see snow beginning to fall in areas of the UP and Michigan. And we could get a front-end thumping of winter weather in the interior sections of New England. This could drop accumulating snow or some ice, sleet. We need to figure this out. But the cold air is really trying to catch up with this moisture very quickly. At the same time, you got a pretty strong low pressure just riding right over the eastern U.S. Here it is. If you look at the L, to me, you're probably going to have a pretty decent wind field with this, very gusty winds, a lot of heavy rain. Moving across all the eastern U.S. as we're getting into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and then waking up Thanksgiving Eve. If you're traveling in the Northeast, it's going to be tough. You're going to be going through some weather, that's for sure. But, if you're making any kind of last-second travel plans for Wednesday, and you're further west out here, like, the eastern U.S. in general, I would say Western Carolinas, Virginia, West Virginia, Georgia, points west, I think it'll be a pretty decent drive. It's just if you're traveling Monday through Wednesday, I really think that's going to be an issue. Especially more so Wednesday up here in the Northeast. But you got a pretty strong low pressure riding right over the Northeast. This is a wind-driven rain for the interior, kind of coastal regions of New England and the Northeast. But it could be accumulating snow for the higher terrain of the Northeast. And yeah, cold air moves in right behind this, right over the Great Lakes, and you're going to have a favorable setup for some intense lake effect snows over all the Great Lakes. Okay, and it just depends on kind of the flow orientation of this. Is it going to be kind of west to east? Is it going to be? I can tell you, it's probably going to start off northwest to southeast as far as how the banding goes, and then eventually probably flip to that notorious kind of southwest to northeast flow that's the flows that really kind of blast the Buffalo area and point south. So, you're getting into Thanksgiving. Like, this is Thanksgiving right in the middle of the day. You're getting some big time lake effect snow bands, especially I really want to watch New York State. Okay. And then we have a reinforcement of the cold air right that drops down. This is getting after Thanksgiving into next weekend. Could have another storm system over the middle of the country, deliver snow, and then the lake effect snows kickstart again next week because we have a huge dome of cold air right over here. Okay? And, you look at the GFS, one thing I'll tell you that's much different with this first system is, it shows a disruptive winter storm for areas much further south. This is Wednesday morning. Look how far south it shows the snow in southern New England. And we'll get closer to this when we get closer to this frame, when we start to really narrow this down. But guys, this shows snow, the GFS does, all the way down to Connecticut, almost to Boston, and shows a significant winter storm that's a lot different. But one thing, the one reason why this is hard to believe is because it does not have the cold air behind it. So I think it's just a weird run by the GFS. We'll see. But, you got a system behind this too. Okay. But, I don't know if I believe snow falling that far south in southern New England, but I'm not saying it's not going to happen. But there is a severe weather side of this. Okay. Marginal risk of severe weather. This is actually downgraded, which is good news. From Dallas, Tulsa to Oklahoma City, you went from a slight risk to just a marginal risk, level 2 to level 1. So the severe weather risk has actually dropped for Sunday. Now, Monday, it pretty much maintains a slight risk, which is a 15% risk, in this case at day 4. So this is for Monday, still a risk of severe weather east of Dallas, all the way to Jackson, Shreveport, pretty much down to Baton Rouge, areas of southern Arkansas. So we still need to watch the severe weather for Monday. Okay, no risk up yet for Tuesday. Okay, so how much rain could fall? Well, the middle of the country between now and next Friday evening, okay, pretty much a week. Point out where you are on your screen. This is how much rain could fall. Okay, a few inches is possible across the Mississippi Valley, the Mid-South, and we go on and switch it to the east, guys. And look at all this beneficial rain that could fall across the Appalachian Mountains. The areas that need it, pretty much everybody that needs rain will at least see some from this system. So we got rains coming. It's just unfortunately going to be when a lot of people are going to be traveling a couple of days before Thanksgiving, a day before Thanksgiving. And some of this moisture will be snow up here in the interior Northeast. So we need to watch out for that. And speaking of that snow, we'll start off next Monday evening. Not a whole lot, right? But watch how this feels in the Great Lakes region. It's the blend of all models. Man, all those notorious lake effect snow areas getting slammed with over a foot of snow, 8 to 12 inches of snow. I could see this being much higher for Lake Erie. Lake effect snow getting into southern Ontario off Lake Huron. Lake Ontario, big time lake effect snow event. And then the interior snow that is possible for the Northeast with this system that could potentially move in. Well, not potentially, it likely will just before Thanksgiving. So active times ahead. There's a lot really going on, but yeah, that's all I got, guys. There's a very low chance I'll get a video this evening, even though I want to. But me and my wife going to go on the date night, and I got to help out the church after that. So busy times, busy weekend, but just definitely asking for prayers for a safe travel, safe drive to Myrtle Beach. Yeah, just that it goes well. But anyways, God bless all y'all. Have a great Friday, and I'll talk to you soon.